China reduced drug prices by up to 90%, but how is that even possible? Is this a breakthrough in healthcare reform, or does it come with hidden consequences? Please watch this video till the end. It reveals the real story behind China's centralized drug procurement system. After the National Healthcare Security Administration was established, its goal was to control costs. The first step was to eliminate intermediaries and kickbacks in drug sales. However, this was not done through harsh legal punishments, but rather by cutting off the flow of money. But how do you cut off the money? Through centralized procurement. So-called centralized procurement means volume-based purchasing. Previously, pharmaceutical companies used to negotiate directly with hospitals. Now, they are no longer allowed to do that. They must negotiate with the Healthcare Security Administration instead. If your drug is included in the national procurement list, your sales volume is guaranteed. For example, if you used to sell 10 million boxes, now the government may increase that to 100 million boxes. With a tenfold increase in volume, the price can naturally be reduced. But how does the bidding work in centralized procurement? Pharmaceutical companies are essentially competing against each other on price. It is done through a sealed bidding system. What does that mean? Each company submits its own price without seeing what others have quoted. The two companies with the lowest bids automatically win. Any company whose bid is more than 1.8 times higher than the lowest bid is automatically eliminated. If multiple companies fall within 1.8 times of the lowest price, then a repage round is held for the third slot. There are two main criteria for centralized procurement. First, the drug must pass China's healthcare fund allocation with other countries. Second, the difference each drug category must have at least 3 manufacturers included in the procurement list. As a result, pharmaceutical companies are forced to slash prices. Because they cannot see competitors' bids, the sealed bidding system is extremely brutal. The first round of centralized procurement took place in 2018 with an average price reduction of 59%. Since then, drug prices have continued to fall every year. Take aspirin as an example. It used to cost 0.3 yuan per tablet, and now it has dropped to 0.03 to 0.04 yuan. Now think about it. After cutting prices by 80% to 90%, do pharmaceutical companies still have money for kickbacks to doctors? 2 hospital directors. 2 medical representatives. No, they don't. However, in reality, the total revenue pharmaceutical companies receive is roughly similar to before. China has over 200 manufacturers producing aspirin. Now, just 3 companies have essentially captured the entire hospital market. These 3 companies divide the national market and can still make substantial profits. In my view, centralized procurement is essentially trading volume for price. This leads to the next question. Do generic drugs in centralized procurement have quality issues? Personally, I believe that, in theory, there should not be major problems. Currently, more than 500 generic drugs in the procurement list have passed consistency evaluation. During the recent Shanghai 2 sessions, Dr. Zheng Minghua proposed improving the feedback mechanism for adverse reaction reporting. This would allow everyone to know which drugs are truly effective. Achieving true transparency is not easy, but if it can be done, it would greatly improve future centralized procurement. I think his proposal is excellent. What does it mean? In the past, adverse reaction reporting was mostly paper-based. Therefore, a real-time online reporting system should be established. Paper-based systems are cumbersome, lagging, and prone to manipulation. If any substandard generic drugs are identified, they should be removed, allowing qualified ones to enter. That's the first point. The second point is that, beyond cost control, centralized procurement has another, more important function, one that has not yet fully emerged, but represents a major future direction. For example, in the United States, about 89% of prescriptions are for generic drugs, not original branded drugs. However, generics account for less than 20% of total pharmaceutical spending. The remaining 80% goes to patented drugs. What are patented drugs? For example, hemophilia used to be incurable and required regular injections of clotting factors. Think about it. How much does it cost to develop such a therapy? On average, developing a new drug requires about $1 billion and takes 10 years. And that's just for successful cases. Many projects fail halfway and are abandoned. So drug innovation is extremely expensive. That's why, internationally, there are common mechanisms to encourage innovation. First, companies are allowed to price their drugs freely. Second, there is patent protection, typically lasting 15 to 20 years. After the patent expires, generic versions can be produced, prices fall, and patients benefit. Now, let's look at China's data. In 2023, even after centralized procurement, generic drugs still accounted for 51% of healthcare fund spending. Among the remaining spending, 28% goes to traditional Chinese medicine, and how much left is allocated to innovative drugs. This clearly shows how imbalanced China's healthcare spending structure is. Even though generics are already very cheap, they still account for 51% of spending. More importantly, the share allocated to innovative drugs is far too low. China has over 7,000 pharmaceutical companies. Companies such as Beijing, Innovent, Biologics, Akeso, and Legend Biotech have emerged. Legend Biotech's CAR-T therapy was recently approved by the US FDA and launched in the US market. Its price in the US, $460,000 per treatment. However, can centralized procurement alone solve all the problems in China's pharmaceutical industry? Are there other issues? And are there corresponding solutions? I will tell you in the next video. If you find this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment.